What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here at the voice of college football on the SEC channel. We're going to preview the 2023 schedule for the Kentucky Wildcats. Before we get to 2023, let's look back at 2022. Here was the schedule from 2022, a 7-6 season for Kentucky, 7-5 in the regular season, and believe it or not, 7-5, that was a little bit of a disappointment from where Kentucky had been the last couple of years. They've really turned this program around, but you look back at that schedule, they had Louisville in the non-conference. That was the only, competitive game there, or the only quality team they played in the non-conference. You look at who they played out of the SEC West. They played Mississippi State every year. They also played Ole Miss last year. That Ole Miss game was a game that they had a good shot to win. Could have beaten South Carolina, Vanderbilt as well, and they played Georgia tougher than maybe anyone last year. So it could have easily been a much better year, but again, that schedule really was not too tough last year. So 7-5, definitely a disappointment. Looking ahead to 2023, here are the games outside of the division. They'll play Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, and Louisville, this time on the road. So again, a very weak non-conference schedule. Louisville could be pretty good though, so that may be I know Kentucky's owned that rivalry as of late, but that possibly could be a better game this year, with a game that maybe either team will have a chance to win. They'll play Mississippi State. They always play them, of course. They'll play them on the road this year, and then they get Alabama, so a very tough draw out of the West. Maybe not the best team out of the West this year. Of course, LSU won that division last year, but still, Alabama is Alabama, and you don't want to have to play them. So I guess good news is the game is at home, but that's not a whole lot of good news there because, again, Alabama, very tough opponent. So you look at this, if we go week by week, they'll start off with Ball State, then they play Eastern Kentucky, and then it's Akron. So 3 easy wins there out of the gate should be. 3 non-conference games, again, that should not challenge this team at all. Then they play Vandy on September 23rd on the road in what will be actually a revenge game for Kentucky. That one will be interesting there early in the season. I guess they do play early in the year this year, September. The SEC has definitely changed some things around this season. You look at where they play Georgia. They used to always play them kind of late in the year. So they've definitely moved some games around this year. It's a little bit different, but they'll play Vandy on September 23rd on the road, and then Florida on September 30th. So you got 2 conference games there after the 3 non-conference games to close out the month of September. Winnable games, Vandy and Florida, I think winnable games. So Kentucky has a chance to start off 5-0 before going into the month of October. They'll play Georgia on the road. Obviously going to be a very tough game. I mean, it's just going to be a tough one there in Athens. Hard to say that. I don't really know if I'd give Kentucky much of a chance on that one. And then after that, they'll play Missouri at home, another winnable game. They get a bye week after that, so a pretty good spot for a bye week. They get it before playing Tennessee. They get Tennessee at home. Tennessee, maybe not quite as good as they were last year. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, but maybe a winnable game there for Kentucky, and that could be a good one. And so you could be sitting there with a pretty good record going into the month of November. Maybe just 1 loss to Georgia, or maybe just 2 losses. Still a chance to finish strong here in the month of November. They'll play Mississippi State on November the 4th on the road. That'll be a tough one, tough place to play. Then it's Alabama after that. And, they don't get that easy non-conference game in the next to the last week. They'll play South Carolina on November 18th on the road. So Alabama, then on the road at South Carolina, and then closing things out on the road at Louisville. A pretty tough schedule. Their only back-to-back road games are South Carolina and Louisville, so no back-to-back road games in the SEC. But, I mean, you just look at the schedule, and, there are a lot of potential wins here, but there are a lot of potential losses as well. I mean, just look, they lost to Vanderbilt last year. So you go after those first 3 games, Vanderbilt, Florida, Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, Louisville. Are you telling me that Kentucky has any guaranteed wins in that stretch? I don't think so. Those are all going to be tough games. A lot of winnable games, but like I said, a lot of losable games. So it could come down to a lot of close games, and if Kentucky can find a way to win those games, that will really determine how their season goes. So there's potential to have a really good year, but also potential to have a pretty bad year, or maybe they wind up in the middle. Overall, a pretty tough schedule for Kentucky here in 2023.